Good morning, everyone. I am Niharika Sondi, the founder and the director of EdTech Consultants, which was established in 2002. And since then, it has garnered fame as one of the best study abroad education consultants in Delhi, I would say even in India. It has placed thousands of students in top universities around the world, and it continues to assist young, ambitious minds. You will find your best fit university, which could be in India, United States, UK, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, and any other country. We help our students get admitted in not just the Ivy Leagues, such as Yale, UPenn, but even top eminent schools, such as HKU Hong Kong, National University of Singapore, NUS, NTU, Oxford, UCL, LSC, RE, and many, many more. And that too with scholarships. We provide that custom created plan for you to get into your dream college. Today, we're going to talk about ERIAL. ERIAL is EdNet Research Initiative for Advanced Learning. Existing for the past 20 years and is known to step up their skill sets in a manner that imbibes versatility. Taking this approach, we launched ERIAL. ERIAL is what? EdNet Research Initiative for Advanced Learning in 2020. ERIAL, EdNet started its next phase of the journey in providing a sophisticated range of critical research-based services to its students. Our existence in the education sector for over 20 years helped us to assess the gap in the curriculum, the national curriculum of CBSE and ICSE, of high school students as well as college-going students. High school students for years have been trained only in the rote learning method of pedagogy, and we wish to push these restricted boundaries by teaching and guiding them not only to think and conduct path-breaking research on them side by side with their school studies. As you all know, times have changed. It's no more just studying the theory from a textbook. The research will also help you to identify where your interest truly lies. And it also gives you a first-hand experience when you go overseas to study as to how to conduct research. Our aim is to provide a dynamic research platform to all high school students and postgraduate students, a space where they can ideate, where they can critically process the research idea, bring them to fruition by conducting path-breaking research and publish them in reputed journals, lectures, and academicians across the globe, and also encourages you to conduct independent research, which could be along with our in-house expert guidance, as well as your school teachers, which would help you push the boundaries of your academic abilities, thereby building a strong and an impressive profile. As you could have seen in this slide, which was just shown to you right now, we have collaborated with several eminent organizations for an array of research programs. EdNet's chief editor, Nandini, will walk you through its details towards the end of this webinar. We are thrilled to recently launch our ERIAL Research Fellowship 2.0, a space where you can engage, learn the fundamentals of research writing critical thinking processes, and maybe publishing over a period of 12 weeks under the able guidance of our in-house professors. I would like to now hand over this session to our Assistant Professor Sejal Yadav for a masterclass on Introduction to Research, its methodology, and how to write a good research paper or a good research article. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Niharika ma'am, for handing over the session. Also, welcome students.
Just make yourself a little louder, Sejal. It's not very loud.
Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am. Also, welcome everyone. You will have to tolerate me for the next 1 hour on Introduction to Research as well as how to write a good research paper. So I'll be sharing my screen in a moment. Yes. So, Introduction to Research. Am I audible to all of you? Yeah. In our day-to-day lives, we often loosely use the terms such as, have you done sufficient research before buying a phone, a latest mobile, or a laptop? Or have you studied the job market well enough where you can possibly apply? Therefore, we observe that the term research has become an inevitable part of our daily lives in multiple ways. You know, the concept of research also varies not only from person to person, but it also varies from an individual to individual and an industry to industry. Academic or formal research is something that we shall be learning about in our Introduction to Research Masterclass. So we follow certain procedures, methods, and we require a specific amount of skill sets when we are into academic research. And this particular masterclass is going to introduce you to academic research. So to begin with, what is research? Let us look at the concrete differences between a textbook and a research paper or a research article. What are those concrete differences? A textbook, just a minute. Yeah. A textbook is a compiled anthology of accumulated knowledge over several years that's designed and categorized in learner-friendly ways. But at the same time, a textbook, depending on its audience, is written in a particular simplistic manner. However, when it comes to research, one at times is unclear as to what will happen to the body of work that you worked on for so many years. Since a body of research tries to push the boundaries of the subject or so that you're trying to work in. So one cannot be completely sure as to what will happen to that research work after it is done. However, the beginnings of the activities of research are quite hazy. So research, for instance, is like you visiting a new city and you are absolutely clueless as to what you want to do in the city, what are the best places that you can visit, and therefore you need a tourist guide, or in our modern days, you need a map to figure out the city. And your Google map or your e-map then becomes your research mentor who helps you navigate this new city that you want to explore, you want to live in, and at the same time, you want to work on. So, what do we do in a new city where we are clueless? We locate the maps, we locate through the maps what are the best places to visit, institutions, museums, art exhibits, and those venues like art exhibits, institutions become your places of engagement where you go, study, and figure out what this city is about. Now, this city means your research, the subject, the discipline, or the topic that you want to work on. The map is your mentor, and the places that you will be visiting to engage is your literature that you will be reading in order to write a fantastic article, paper, or a thesis. So as we can see on the slide, what is research? Research is about constant learning, discovering, and reworking. You entered a new discipline. You entered, keep the analogy in mind. You've entered a new discipline. You've entered a new city. Now you have to figure out things on your own with the help of the tools that will help you navigate things better. So research is about constant learning. You're constantly going to learn new things. You're constantly going to discover new ideas. It requires various components like a focused area of research, existing literature, and finding a suitable potential supervisor. Like I said, some of us would like to rely on Google Maps, some of us would like to rely on atlases, or some of us would like to rely on new apps. And these variety of apps or these variety of maps are the number of research mentors that you have to choose from. You have to be smart enough to know which mentor, which map is going to give me the exact direction, is going to help me brainstorm efficiently in order to figure out my area of research, lead me to those engaging spots that I can study well and critically, further have conversations with. So research is an open-ended discourse. There's so much that you're going to figure out on your own with the help of the tools, set of tools that will be given to you. There is no textbook that, now nobody is going to provide you with a textbook for research. That chapter 1 means this, chapter 2 means that. No, you will have a mentor like us who will be helping you through your journey of research. And it's a fascinating journey because you and your mentor together will take that journey. So it is open-ended, it requires due diligence, it requires commitment and a great deal of patience. There is also no model answer or no one correct answer. So we've all given exams and we know if we write a particular answer in a particular way, we are going to get really good marks for that. But in case of research, your friend and you are not going to write the same ditto exact research paper, research article, or a research project. What an institution or research-based R&D labs are looking for is new, creative, critical ideas. Your idea, your research has to be very different and path-breaking from the way previous researchers have already been done. Therefore, there is no model answer or no correct answer when it comes to doing research. Now we are moving into different types of research. So we all know what is research by now, but now we have to understand the various types of research that we shall eventually decide which way do we want to move into. So what is a descriptive research? The primary objective of a descriptive research is to define the characteristics of a particular phenomenon without necessarily investigating the causes that produce it. It usually involves surveys and studies that aim to identify the facts. In other words, descriptive research includes surveys and fact-finding inquiries of different kinds. The major purpose of descriptive research is describing, in literal sense, the state of affairs of the particular subject or body that you're trying to speak about. So, for example, what is an example of descriptive research? Investigating how the public census of influential governmental officials differs between tier 1 and tier 2 cities, or describing how different policies have affected the rural and the urban areas. Moving on to the next type of research, analytical research. This type of research is a research in which the researcher has to use facts or information that is already available, and then we have to analyze those facts in order to make a critical evaluation of the material. So what is analytical research? You already have a great deal of data in front of you. Now the onus lies on you to make absolute sense of that data and write it in such a critical and engaging manner that you come up with a big breakthrough argument and analysis of the particular data that you are trying to analyze and engage with. The next is applied research. Here, the goal is to find strategies that can be used to address a specific research problem. Now, kids, this type of research already has the word applied in it. That means through this particular form of research, you're going to try and come up with ways and policies in which you can actually make actions or make others perform certain actions through your body of work. And therefore, it is titled as applied research. So an applied research draws on theories to generate practical scientific knowledge and it is very common in STEM fields such as engineering, computer science, and medicine. For example, market research, because by examining consumption patterns, strategies can be developed for the development of new products and marketing campaigns. We are all into social media these days. We all at some point tried doing a course on digital marketing. So here you can apply the logic of applied research. When you're learning about digital marketing, after you've understood what the course is about, you're going to go out in the field and apply that logic. You're going to try and get as many viewers as possible. And you're also going to write about it. So this particular way of writing about an action-based project is called as applied research. The next type of research is fundamental research. So what do we understand by the term fundamental research? It aims to solve a problem by adding to the field of application. And therefore, fundamental research is majorly about how things can be changed in a meta way, in an avant-garde way. It is mainly concerned with generalizations and with the formulation of meta theories, and it is sometimes also called as basic or pure research. So initially, when research as a field was developing, the only type of research that we had was fundamental research. But today in our modern day and age, that is not the case. As you can see on the screen, we have various types of research. And no research project sticks only to one particular type. When you enter this particular journey of research, you will realize that you will always try and combine one type of research with the other in order to make your research path-breaking as well as more emphatic and useful to the entire world. Moving on to the next type of research, it is quantitative research. So quantitative research tries to delve deep into the phenomena through quantitative data using mathematical, statistical, and computer-aided tools to measure them. This allows generalized conclusions to be projected over time. For example, conducting a computer simulation on vehicle strikes impacts to collect quantitative data. So you can use quantitative data for a great deal of analysis, from your economic policies to political and social policies, as well as scientific discoveries. Quantitative data is essential, and data in today's world is the biggest asset one can ever have with them. So that's the reason why quantitative data has become an integral part of the varied types of research. Moving on from quantitative research to qualitative research. Qualitative methods are often used in disciplines such as social sciences, liberal arts, to collect, compare, and interpret information. For instance, qualitative researchers can be found in areas of linguistics, semantics, basis, and it is used in techniques such as discourse analysis, interviews, surveys, records, and participant observations. Qualitative research, however, tends to be subjective. Why? Because not all data can be fully controlled through mathematical and statistical modes. As humans, there is a lot of data that we are constantly producing through emotions, through thoughts, and therefore they are subjective data. And to analyze this particular subjectivity of human emotions, thoughts, ideas, we need a different kind of lens to analyze it, and that lens is your qualitative research. So moving on to the last type of research, that is empirical research. Empirical research is a type of research methodology that makes use of verifiable evidence in order to arrive at research outcomes. The easiest and the most simplest example that should strike you when the word empirical research is ever uttered is law. Nothing in front of the law can be proven without evidence. And empirical research places emphasis on evidence. Therefore, I'll repeat what I just said, that empirical research is a type of research that makes use of verifiable and credible evidence in order to arrive at research outcomes. In other words, this type of research relies solely on evidence obtained through observation or scientific data collection. Empirical research can be carried out using both qualitative and quantitative observation methods. depending on the data sample that can be quantified. Unlike theoretical research that depends on certain preconceived notions about various research variables, empirical research carries a scientific investigation to measure the experimental probability of the research variables. So, to summarize it, empirical research, the backbone of empirical research is credible evidence. You cannot say that you've conducted an empirical research unless and until you have evidence data to back it up and to prove it. So these were our various types of research. Now we move on to the question of why is it important to undertake research? As you can see on the slide, Einstein often said that any fool can know. The point is to understand. We all know a lot of things, but what do we do with that information is what helps us become better at research. So you have the same set of knowledge that I have, but the way in which I will process it, the way in which I will formulate it, articulate it, write it, is what will make my research a much better piece than the others who already have that piece of information. Therefore, Einstein often said that any fool can know. The point is to understand. Research is therefore required not just for students and academics, but for all professionals. It's not just about knowing the facts, but it is also about being highly curious to understand the process, to understand and process these facts critically and engagingly in our minds. So this is one of the precisely the important reasons why we need to undertake research. Apart from that, what are the other reasons that we need to undertake research? Like we all know, once you have the data in front of you, once you've thought, okay, this is a particular topic on which I want to undertake research, then you delve deep into it. You read about it, you speak to people about it, you meet new people, and then you start taking a moment to reflect and write it down. So what does research help you? It helps you with better writing skills. The way we speak is not the way we talk, and it's definitely not the way in which we write our research papers, projects, or articles. So it's going to refine your literary prowess as well as your academic prowess. It is going to make you better at your writing skills. You're going to speak to a lot of people, so you're going to get assistance from the best of the experts. You're going to learn to use the tools in order to write a fantastic research projects. The tools like which Google map or which atlas you need to refer to in order to figure out the city. Similarly, what are the new softwares that will help you in writing better? What are the new ways in which you're going to write your citations? How are you going to draft your papers, your projects, your articles? And therefore, what you'll have to do is you'll have to make effective use of the skills and tools that will be given to you. And it also helps you in the process, in the due process, it helps you develop critical thinking. So like I said, we all have access to the data that we constantly keep seeing, but how you process it, how you engage with it, what you make out of it is going to enhance your research projects. Now moving on to the next slide, what are the different outcomes of research? Up till now, we saw what is research, what are the different types of research, how research was back in the ancient times, what it is right now, and now we're going to see what are the different outcomes of research. So research helps us gain hands-on experience with various research methods and procedures. Why? Because research is the process of discovering new knowledge. This knowledge can be either the development of new concepts or the advancement of existing knowledge and theories, thereby leading to a new understanding that was not previously known. The purpose of research is to enhance the society by advancing knowledge through the development of scientific theories, cutting-edge products, concepts, and ideas. And this research purpose is met through forming hypotheses, collecting data, analyzing results, as well as formulating smart research questions. So from weather forecasts to the discovery of antibiotics, Researchers are constantly trying to find new ways to understand the world and how things work, with the ultimate goal of improving our lives. So, the purpose of research is therefore to find out what is known, what is not known, and what we can develop further. In this way, scientists can develop new theories, new ideas, new products that shape our society radically and our everyday lives too. So we come to the end of the first half of our session on Introduction to Research, where we've covered the topics of what is research, how to engage with it, what are the different types, and how those types are going to come together to enhance your research project, as well as what are the outcomes of a research. This was the first half of our session on Introduction to Research. So I would like to now get into a Q&A session before we move on to the second half of our topic on how to write a good research project. So I would like to request all the students who have questions to please type the questions in the chat box, and we'll try and answer all your questions as much as possible.
Hello, good afternoon.
Can you remove the slide, please? We are asking the Q&A. Maybe we can remove the slide and see the students.
Sure.
Yes, yeah, great.
Good afternoon, Sejal.
Good afternoon. Yes.
Okay, so my question to you is, I would like to know what is the difference between a high school research project from an undergrad research study?
That's a really excellent question. So we're going to address this in the second half of the session as well, but I shall repeat it once again. So at a high school level, the kind of project or the kind of article that is expected from you will have lesser word limit. You will engage in literature review, but not as extensively as you would be expected to engage when you do a master's level project, an undergrad thesis, or even a PhD. So a high school project is your gateway into how you would be entering your research career. It's a tiny preview of what you would be doing in your further projects, but it's a very important preview because that's your first step into research, and that you need to perform excellently in your first step, which will give you the confidence to further embark on the journey of research. Thank you so much for the question.
Well said.
Hi, Sejal ma'am, it's Sarah. I have a question for you. So how do I basically decide like which is the type of research I should conduct?
Sarah, so this is a deeply engaging question, and for that, you will have to get in touch with your mentors because we need to know the entire process, your ideation process. What is the research that you want to work on? What are the ways, what are the types of research that we can possibly engage, the research methodology, your sampling size. And for that, you need a tutor who will help you on this entire journey of research, and that person will help you figure out that which research methodology, which type of research is best suited for you. I hope that
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hi, Sejal ma'am. How are you? Hello.
Yes. Hi, Supriya. Supriya, can you be a little louder? I can't hear you clearly.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
How are you, ma'am?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, Supriya. Please ask a
Yeah,
question.
ma'am, I had a question. So will my research project always lead to actions?
That's a very good question, because as high school students, we tend to think that the outcome of research is only action. And as a research mentor, what I would like to tell you students that action is as equally important as the base and foundation, which are your theories, which are your critical questions, which are your critical thoughts. Because without ideas, without theories, we cannot maneuver and we cannot take ourselves to those journeys where we actually come up with strategic plans and actions. So research outcomes will vary depending on what kind of research you want to do. Certain action-based research projects are completely focusing on actions, but there are a lot of other research, like we covered in the types of research: fundamental research, applied research, quantitative, qualitative, where the outcome might be a fantastic argument that was never raised previously. It could be a research question that was never asked, or it could also be a wholesome theory that was never proposed. So the outcomes of research vary according to the types of research. Thank you so much for that answer.
Very well said, Sejal. Excellent.
So, Sejal ma'am, I have another question. Like it's with the first one that I asked. So, how is the academic research different from the industrial research?
Okay, that's a very good question. So I would like to give you an example. For instance, you want to pursue digital marketing, and you also want to write a research project on digital marketing in your college. So if you're working in an institution that wants you to learn about digital marketing, the kind of report you will write for that institution is going to be a business report. It's going to be a business analytical report, which is focused solely on the industry and the industrial outcomes. But when you write an academic report, you're not only going to talk about the industry that you're part of, but you're also going to talk about all the existing ventures who are similar to you, the kind of processes that they follow when it comes to digital marketing, the learnings that you can possibly get from them, and make an argument or a research question or action based on that, that is path breaking and that is very new and contributes to the discourse on digital marketing. So I hope this analogy helps you understand the question that you raised.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, do we have any other question? Okay, hi Surbhi. Surbhi, do you have any question? If you have any question, please type it in the chat box. Okay, so we'll move on to our next question. Don't worry, we have a next session and then we have a great deal of time for Q&A in that session as well. So I'll just share my screen once again. Okay. So moving on to our next session on how to write a good research project, or research project, research article, or a research paper. So we need to know that just like when we write an essay, a school essay, or when we enter essay competitions, we follow certain pattern. There's a structure, there's an outline to our writing. There's an introduction, there's a body, there's a conclusion. And the way we introduce and conclude becomes very important, which is equally important to the content that you're writing in the main body. Similarly, when we write a research article, a research paper, or a research project, there's a structure that we need to adhere to. And that structure has certain different components. Like for a vehicle to work efficiently, there are different parts in the vehicles that we need to accustom ourselves with. So that if a vehicle breaks down, we need to know whether it's the engine that's not working or the brakes are not working. Similarly, if your research has to function efficiently, you need to concentrate on the fact that all the fundamental components of your research are in place and they have been written perfectly. So what are those fundamental components that you need to concentrate on in order to write a good research project? So there's a title, then an abstract, an introduction, a literature review, a research methodology, data analysis, hypotheses, observations or arguments, conclusions, and citations or references. So we will be engaging with these in details right now as to what is a title, what is an abstract. So I hope you're with me up till now. So to begin with the first fundamental component of a research project, a title. What is a title page? A title page is the first page of your article, and therefore it is extremely important to have a well-written and well-formatted title page that clearly represents your paper, project, or article. This page should include all the information necessary for a reader to identify with the contents of the article, its author, the origin of the article, as well as the type of article. So several of us decide to read a particular research project, paper, article, or even a newspaper article on the basis of the title. or the headline in case of newspapers. So in case of newspapers, we need effective headlines. In case of research project, we need detailed titles, which will help us understand in one shot, in one go, what the particular author is trying to research on and work on in his or her body of work. This brings us to the next component, fundamental component of a research project, and that is an abstract. Now, students, this is a dilemma that a lot of us face when we start our research journeys. What is the difference between an abstract and a synopsis, and what is the difference between a research proposal? There is a vast deal of difference amongst the three. A synopsis is a summary. A research proposal is a detailed research plan about what you're going to present. And an abstract is a smaller, tiny prompt, but an extremely efficient and important prompt, which is going to give a bird's eye view to everybody who reads it about the amount of efforts you've taken to write your particular research article, project, and all that you've done in it. Okay, just like people read titles, people at times decide whether they want to read or engage with the research article, paper, or project based on just the abstract. So your abstract has to be bang on point. It has to cover all the areas that are crucial to be covered and crucial to be spoken of for a research project, such as problem under study, research methods, the results that you've derived from your research projects, conclusions, as well as significance. So what do we understand by the term problem under study? In an abstract, you need to explain the specific research problem that you've tried to work on. Excuse me. The scope and the magnitude of that problem, what it is trying to solve, and at the same time, you have to explain it in general and specific terms too. It needs to be an introduction. It needs to be an abstract that everybody understands, but at the same time, it has to be strictly academic and formal. So we have to be consistently vigilant about the language that we are using. It has to be a discursive language that we use. It has to be an academic language that we use. It needs to be formal. Next, research methods that we have to speak of in an abstract. Briefly, we need to explain the materials, the type of research methods, and the characteristics that we've tried to engage with in our research paper, project, or article. Of course, the results are always important. Your abstract needs to tell a person who's reading it what is the kind of work you've done, what is the research problem that you've studied, what are the research methods that you've used, and at the same time, what were the results, what was the outcome of that research. Just like in the Q&A session, we were discussing that the outcomes can be anything from an excellent research question to an argument or to an action-based strategic plan. You have to ensure that you write about your results in your abstract. Lastly, conclusions. No simple school essay can end without conclusions. And similarly, no research project cannot end without emphatic conclusions. Your conclusions sort of become like a summary of all that you've tried to do in your research. So therefore, problem under study, research methods, results, conclusions, and how significant your research is has to be mentioned in the abstract. Now, writing about the significance of your research is very important. Why? There might be thousands like us who worked on the same topic. What is it about our topic? What is it about my topic rather that makes my research far more better than the others that are already existing? And that bit, that portion is called as the significance of your research. And therefore, you have to remember this, that the significance of your research becomes a crucial part that you must write in your abstract. Moving on to the next component, it's a literature review. So here, I would like to take you all back to the analogy that I introduced, the analogy of us visiting a new city, and we're absolutely clueless. We don't know where to go, what are the best places to eat, what are the best places to visit in that particular city. What helps you in that city? The things that help you in that city is your map. or your atlas, who's your research mentor. And what does the research mentor suggest you? The research mentor suggests you, please go to this particular exhibition. It's fantastic. It's by Andy Warhol. Please visit this library. Please visit this museum. And you follow those suggestions. And when you visit that particular museum, an art exhibit, or a library, or a public archive, those institutions become your literature review. So as a research mentor, when you come to me saying, ma'am, I want to study and I want to research on this XYZ topic, I'm going to tell you that, why don't you read this journal? Why don't you read this particular book? Have you read that particular piece by that intellectual who works on your area? And those particular references become the literature with which you're going to engage critically. So literature review is not just about visiting museums, seeing the exhibit and the museum, coming back home and doing nothing about it. No. What we have to do is we have to visit those museums. We have to visit those archives. We have to read those books and journals, and we have to make a note of it. We have to write what we learned from it. What are the points that we agree with? What are the points that we disagree with? And if we disagree, why we disagree with those points? And this activity is called as critically engaging with your literature. So as you can see on the slide, a literature review is a comprehensive overview of all the knowledge available to you on your topic till date. A literature review surveys books, scholarly articles, museums, exhibits, products, because in the modern day and age, a text or a literature is not just limited to pages. It is also about visiting those institutions, studying those institutions. For an architect, studying the building is of utmost priority. And that becomes a literature in case of a research that you're conducting as an architect. So a literature review surveys books, scholarly articles, and any other sources relevant to your particular issue, area of research, or theory. And by doing so, it provides a description, summary, and critical evaluation of these works in relation to the research problem being investigated. Therefore, literature reviews are designed to provide an overview of sources you are trying to explore while researching a particular topic, and to demonstrate to readers how you are well aware of all that's already been done in your area of study. Therefore, literature review should not be a mere recounting of all the available information. A literature review is not about, Hanji ma'am, I've read this. Yes, ma'am, I've read the book, I've read the article. So as a mentor, the next question to a yes, ma'am would be, so what did you do with it? What did you understand from it? How did you engage with it? What are the points you agreed with? What are the arguments you disagreed with? So it has to be a close, thorough reading and understanding of all the materials that you are going to read, observe, and engage with, so that when you sit to write your own article, paper, or a thesis, you are well aware of all that is happening in your field, and you're able to make emphatic arguments that solely belong to you and not to anyone else. So a literature review should not be a mere recounting of all the available information. It has to be a critical and an extremely well-versed analytical summary of the selected literature that guides the readers to the central theme of your research. Now moving on to the next important component of research, that is research methodology, which is one of the most important fundamental components that you have to keep in mind when you try to write an excellent research project. What is a research methodology? The research method section tries to answer two main questions. How was the data collected or generated? And how was it analyzed? So it's not merely enough to say that, ma'am, I've read all these books, all these journals. I decided to go with a questionnaire. So I've asked these list of questions to so many people. No, that's not enough. We have to write it scientifically. Okay, and how do we write it scientifically? With the help of the research tool that is called research methodology. Using the tool of research methodology, proves your integrity as a researcher, that you've collected the data in a scientific way. You've engaged with it in a scientific way. You've spoken to the people you've interviewed or asked questions to in a scientific way over a certain period of time. And now you're writing about those engagements and conclusions that you actually sort of carried on with during your process of research. So methodology is crucial for any branch of scholarship, because an unreliable method or practice leads to unreliable results, and it misappropriates interpretations or findings. We do not want you to interpret the data wrongly. To put it in simple words, research methodology is going to help you to interpret the data the way it should be interpreted. And it is also going to help you to write the way it should be academically written. Your research cannot be an informal piece of writing. It has to be a formal piece of literature. And we need to follow the structures and tools that ensure the process is formal from the beginning to the end. Therefore, the reader wants to know in a research methodology what happens. The reader wants to know the data was collected or generated in a way that is credible and accepted piece of practice in the field of study. For example, if you're using a questionnaire, the readers need to know that it offered your respondents a reasonable range of answers to choose from. If there's a XYZ questionnaire and you chose to give only 2 answers, yes or no, that is not going to be sufficient. You need to give them a range of answers from which they can pick, choose, and if at times they want, they can also pen down their certain descriptions or feelings. Now this, what does it do? When you give your readers or your respondents a range of answers to choose from, you also get a better understanding of what is actually going on in that person's minds whom you're trying to study for your research. Especially in case of students who are into psychology and want to pursue research, it becomes extremely important that you draft really good questionnaires and surveys that ensures that you're trying to get a holistic view of the particular topic that you're trying to address in your research. So the methodology should discuss the problems that were anticipated and the steps you took to prevent those problems from occurring. So of course, when we are on a journey of research, everything is not going to be rosy. There will be mistakes, there will be trials, there will be errors that happen. And we need to humbly accept those errors and work on it so that our research doesn't get affected in the end. And you need to be aware of the limitations. And when you write about it, you also have to write with utmost humility the limitations of your research in the research methodology section. There are limitations to everything, but that doesn't mean you cannot do excellent work. You will acknowledge those limitations, write about those limitations, and still explain as to why the method you chose for research, be it research methodology or type of research, was the best possible way in which you could reach on to those path-breaking conclusions and results that you could in your journey. Moving on to the next component, data analysis. Like we discussed this in the previous session, we are all bombarded with so much data in our day-to-day lives. We're all bombarded with so much news through social media, through newspapers, through digital avenues. How do we make sense of that? How do we sift through it? How do we understand what is a fake news and what is credible news? And for the basic of the functions like these, your research is going to help you. Here too, you need to use your scientific mind and your scientific research attitude in order to analyze the data that has been given to you or that you've collected in your journey, in order to analyze it better and write better about it. So your data is the backbone of your research. It is the base upon which the entire study will be spoken of and written. So why am I going to read your research paper? I'm going to read your research paper, research article, because you're giving me a new perspective. You're giving me something new to engage with. But as a researcher, it becomes the integrity and honesty of the researcher to ensure that the data that you've analyzed, the data that you've written, the data that you've referred to is credible data. And you have to ensure that there are tools, there are certain sites that you have to refer to. And this is where your research mentor walks in, tells you what are the ways in which you can ensure that your data is credible and sift out what are the unnecessary details that we don't want. So analyzing the data is the second and the most integral part of your research paper. Data analysis is a practice that breaks down complex research material into fundamental and simplified state. For example, as your research mentor today, I have lots of information in my mind swirling around when I'm talking about research. But if I start speaking on the top of my head, this webinar is not going to make sense. What I need to do is the data that's already swirling around in my head has to be interpreted, has to be logically put down in a manner and only then spoken of. Now, this process is called the process of data compilation and analysis, and then eventually presentation. Therefore, analyzing the data is the second and the most integral part of a research paper. Data analysis is about breaking down of complex research material into fundamental and simplified state. It also provides proof and better understanding about your research. As a researcher, we come across loads of information, loads of amazing arguments and theories, but we can't be possibly speaking about all of it to our audiences, to our mentors, to those who are going to read our papers, our articles. We have to filter it. We have to decide, we have to make those strategic decisions as to what will be written, what will be spoken of, and how we are going to analyze the data we already have in our mind and write about it. Therefore, in your data analytical section, you're going to state your type of research, whether it is quantitative, qualitative, mixed methods, or the methods of research methodology that you've used, the statistical analysis of it, whether the ways in which you conducted the research and the methods of research, whether it was analysis, whether it was oral or visual interviews, or whether it was a questionnaire. All of that has to be written with utmost integrity and in an academic and formal sense. Therefore, an essential component of ensuring data integrity is the accurate and appropriate analysis of research findings. Moving on to the next section of fundamentals of good research writing, it's introduction. Like in a high school essay, we all know an introduction, a main body, and conclusion are the important parts. Now, why is an introduction important even when it comes to your research projects? Because a well-written introduction, quite simply, is your first impression. All of us speak about this first impression when we go for our new job interviews or when we are in our schools trying to present or perform in events. First impression is of utmost importance to us. Similarly, first impression is not just limited to performativity. It is also important when it comes to writing a good research project, paper, thesis, or an article. Your introduction should be so good that it should engross the reader. It should ask for the attention that the reader needs to give and the time and dedication the reader needs to give in order to engage with your body of literature. Therefore, well-written introduction is important because quite simply, you will never get a second chance to make a good first impression. A first impression is first. There's no second chance for that. Then the opening paragraph of your paper will provide your readers with the initial impressions about the logic of your argument, your writing style, the overall quality of your research, and ultimately the validity and findings as well as conclusions. A vague, disorganized, or error-filled introduction will create a negative impression, whereas concise, engaging, and well-written introduction will start your readers off thinking highly of your analytical skills, your writing style, and your research approach. This brings us to the next section on the fundamental components. It's a hypothesis. What do we understand by the term hypothesis? Remember that within the word hypothesis is the, is the word thesis. So that means a hypothesis is what you are trying or to prove through your research. What is it? Are you going to nullify the theory? Are you going to prove the theory? Are you going to prove the argument that you've raised in your article, in your research article, or you're going to disprove it? That particular statement, that particular argument that you propose emphatically is what we understand by hypothesis in a research paper, project, or even a thesis. So a hypothesis states your predictions about what your research will find or is trying to locate. It is a tentative answer to your research questions that has not yet been tested by other or some research projects. And you might also want to write several hypotheses to address different aspects of your research question. So if there is one research question that you've raised in your article, then you will have one hypothesis for it. That this is my assumption, this is my prediction, my research is either going to prove, disprove, or it is going to come up with an alternative solution for it. If there are multiple research questions that you've raised in your project and article, then you have to come up with multiple hypotheses as well. So I hope this section 1 on hypotheses was clear. Now we'll move on to the next, which is observations and arguments. We all know we've all done scientific experiments in our school laboratories. What do our science teachers always tell us? Please write whatever you're observing. Please write whatever you're trying to argue in this particular experiment. And that is simply what we understand by observation and arguments. For instance, researchers Catherine Marshall and Gretchen Rossman defined observations in their book, Designing Qualitative Research, as the systematic description of events, behavior, artifacts in the social setting chosen for the study. Research observations, once collected, allow you to drill down deeper into the behavior of your users or the behavior of the components that you're trying to research on. Observational research can also help you to verify. It is going to help you verify whether the hypotheses that you've given can be disproved or proved. It will help you verify or explain other kinds of research that you have collected or you are collecting. And as a research scholar, the tip that I would like to give you is write your research observations at the time of your research sessions. You are performing an experiment, and if you don't jot down your research observations, then it is going to become extremely difficult for your memory to go back to the research, to go back to the experiment that you conducted and write about it. Do not strain your memory, because then again, the questions of research integrity and observational integrity walks in. The minute you're performing an experiment, or the minute you're speaking to someone who you want to interview for your research, jot down those observations, those reactions, those important statements that the person in front of you is making. This is going to help you in the longer run when you actually sit down to write a longer piece about what you have been doing. So therefore, a research argument is an idea that you propose through your body of work emphatically and defend it with appropriate evidences. Here we need to remember our lawyers. When our lawyers are proposing an idea or an argument, they have to guard it with all their lives. They have to defend it. If you're unsure of your argument, the person in front of you is going to question your research project as well as your research integrity. Therefore, when you speak about your research, when you lay down an argument, you need to keep all your tools in your arsenal that are going to help you defend your argument. But you can write about this argument and speak about this argument only when you've done thorough study and thorough research to begin with. This brings us to the second last section on the fundamentals of research writing, that is a conclusion. Like we all said, an introduction, a body, an abstract, a title, they are all important, and so is a conclusion equally important. It's the last word you're sending out, you're giving, you're writing on your body of work that you so dearly worked on. And the last word is going to leave an impression in the mind of your reader. Your reader has chosen your article. Your reader has given you the time and attention to engage with it. Now it becomes your duty as a good researcher to ensure that you also end it well. Just like you started your research fantastically, you have to end it equally amazingly, so that it lingers on to the mind of your researchers and creates impact in the world that you're trying to change through your body of work. That's the reason why conclusion becomes extremely important, and you have to learn the art of persuasiveness in order to write better conclusions. This brings us to the last section of how to write a good research paper, and the most important section, citations. What do we understand by citations and referencing? The amount of literature that you've read and engaged with in your research is somebody else's body of work. It is somebody else's intellectual property right. And you cannot claim it to be your own. You have to give that person, that academician, that intellectual, that artist, his or her due credit. And giving of the due credit is called as citations. For example, when we post pictures on Instagram and Facebook, we make it a point that if it's a picture that is clicked by a friend or a parent, we always write photo credits, so and so. In case of research, giving that due credit is called citations. And there is a procedure. There is a way in which you will be doing your bibliography, referencing, and citations. Be it APA format, MLA, Chicago style, it all depends on for whom you're doing the research, where you're planning to get it published, and therefore you need to adhere to those stylistics and designs depending on the journals, books you want to get it published in, and therefore giving references and citations is of utmost importance. Why are citations important? To avoid plagiarism. Plagiarism means when you've used someone's ideas or intellectual property to as a base to your argument, or you've added to his or her body of work, you cannot claim the entire piece to be your body of work. Till the section that it belongs to the person, you have to give the credit to that particular individual. But beyond that, wherever your body of work begins belongs to you. Therefore, the instance of copying is called as plagiarism in research. So to avoid plagiarism, to avoid being called a copycat researcher, citation becomes very important. To avoid plagiarism and unethical claims, what you haven't discovered or contributed to respect the intellectual property rights of others, to provide evidence from the work of others and support a claim in your paper, and to help the reader. For instance, I really liked your research and I would like to learn more about it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to check your reference and bibliography section. I'm going to see, oh, these are the books this person read. Even I need to read it. Oh, this is the article he or she engaged with. So this is going to help your readers also learn a lot about your field, which is why citations and referencing becomes extremely important. Excuse me. This brings us to the end of how to write a good research project. To summarize it so that I can make an equally good conclusion that lingers on to your mind, I'm going to summarize it in a capsule by talking about the process of research that you can see on the screen. We started with identifying the problem, reviewing literature, setting research questions, objectives, and hypotheses, then choosing the study of design, eventually moving on to deciding the sample, whether it's going to be 50 people, 100 people, questionnaire, interviews, quantitative data analysis, all of that, to actually collecting the data, critically analyzing and processing the data, and then eventually writing a fantastic report, project, or a paper, the fundamental components of which we just discussed at greater length. So this was, or this is rather, how you write an effective and excellent research project, paper, and a thesis. So like there was a question that a student raised, that what is the difference between a high school research or a MPhil PhD undergrad research? To answer that question even better, these are the slides right in front of you. Why is research important for high school students? Because it helps you develop a deeper understanding of the subject matter at a very young age. Imagine the edge you're going to get over the others just because you worked so hard on your area of work that you're reading, constantly engaging, and have all these new ideas in your head that you're sort of experimenting with. So it is going to help you with a deeper understanding of the subject matter. It's also crucial that we learn to think critically and distinguish between credible and non-credible, fake and reliable sources of information. It helps us build and expand our professional network. So just like you will be reading a lot of stuff, visiting a lot of events, museums, art exhibits, at the same time, you're going to expand your professional network by speaking to the scholars, the experts, your research guide, the intellectuals and academicians who are going to add to your discourse, who are going to add to the knowledge that you're already gaining. So it helps you push the boundaries of your academic prowess. As high school students, we are often taught to learn in a rote learning manner. But what research does is it helps us to become independent. It teaches us the value of self-study. Your research guide and mentor is going to help you out, but the actual deal, the work, has to be done by you. You are going to go out, network, speak to intellectuals, attend events, write about it, constantly write and engage whether you're agreeing, disagreeing. And what it does, this helps you push the academic boundaries and it enhances your academical and literary prowess. So it gives you a better idea, and it also, which is extremely important, it gives you a better idea about whether or not you may want to pursue a career in research. This particular bird's eye view capsule is going to give you the confidence and enormous strength in order to take your research journeys forward. It will give you the confidence to, from a research article, to write a research paper. Once you write a research paper, it will give you the confidence to actually go and write a fantastic research thesis. And these are the reasons why research becomes extremely important for high school students. Which brings us to the last section. Just like we spoke about the importance of research for high school students, now we shall be talking about the importance of research for higher education, which is, what does a research degree, excuse me, what does a research degree such as an MPhil or a PhD imply? So MPhil and PhDs are degrees that you undertake after you've completed your master's. And these are intensive, immersive research degrees in which you're expected to write a thesis. And this thesis is going to help you contribute something new within the area of study that you've chosen. And always remember, no two theses, no two research projects, no two research articles can ever be the same. Why? Because you are unique. There's nobody else like you. The way in which your mind functions, the way in which you are going to write your paper, article, or thesis has to be different from the way in which I write or someone else writes. Therefore, no two theses are the same and they can never be similar to each other. Also, when you're doing intensive and immersive degrees like MPhil and PhD, it requires a great deal of self-motivation from beginning to end. Remember, I've told you that research is something that will help you become an independent scholar. It will teach you to self-study. It will teach you to do things on your own. You constantly won't be needing someone to push you to do it. There will be a mentor, there will be a guide who is there with you. But at the same time, there are innumerable things that you will be doing on your own. Therefore, it teaches you independence. And to be independent, you need that self-motivation. Therefore, MPhil and PhD immersive degrees are a long journey full of trial and error that requires patience, curiosity, discipline, intellectual rigor, and the commitment to accept challenges as the work progresses. Like I told you, research journey is not going to be a rosy ride. It is going to be full of trial and errors. It is going to be a journey where you make mistakes. But you need to get in touch with your research mentors, figure out how to fix those errors, what are the best research methodologies, what can you do to write a fantastic paper, and eventually embark on that journey and not feel disheartened by the mistakes you make. Some of the most amazing scientific scholars that we have actually made amazing progresses through the mistakes they made, So use that mistake of yours as an opportunity to build on it and do something extremely critical and path-breaking in your areas of research. So this brings us to the end of our session on introduction to research and how to write a good research project. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for being such a lovely and attentive audience. Now I would like to hand over the session to my colleague Nandini Banerjee. She will walk you through and talk about the amazing research collaborations we have with some of the most eminent universities across the globe. And she's going to be someone who will walk you through those details. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Before Nandini takes over, Sejal, I just want to personally thank you for this amazing session that you had. I went through it, and in fact, I learned so much more about research. I mean, when you have emphasized on your ability to create an impact in that world, in the minds of the reader. So every time you do research is just not for people who want to undertake research later on in their lives, but research is something for all, where you are helping to discover and identify your areas of interest. When you're preparing yourself for an undergraduate degree, mainly maybe overseas, where college education abroad do give a lot of emphasis on research. So this transition, how to conduct research from EdNet, helps the student when they move on to their college experiences, which could be anywhere else in the world. So I think research is for all. Everyone should be involved in some kind of a research, and the way you explained about right from literature review, different types of, we have research areas which you can look into, like literature review is most common, along with the question and the surveys that our students conduct at the high school level, is something that I feel is not that hard. And once a student is delving into it, it will not be so difficult if you're going to be mentoring them. And you're absolutely fantastic. Good work. Good job. I just had to say this, and now I can pass it on to Nandini, who can talk about all the organizations that we are associated with and who are helping our students with research, both at the undergraduate as well as high school. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Sejal. But before I start, does any student have any questions? We have one in the chat box. Sejal, if you could look at it.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so Surbhi has a question. What should be the size of a research? Surbhi, like I said in the first session as well, a lot of it depends on what kind of research you want to do. Is it a project? Is it a high school project? Is it a research article or a research paper? And based on that, we have word limits. We have our research methodologies in place. So you need to get in touch with your mentor in order to figure out this entire process, so that it's just not limited to the size of your research, but it also speaks volumes about the quality and kind of research that you're doing at the same time. Any other questions?
I think we've answered all. Nandini can move forward now.
Thank you, Sejal. That was most informative. Let me start my presentation. 1 second. Seems to be a technical. Anyway. What's happening? Yes. Yes, started. The ERIAL Fellowship 2.0 is a fantastic platform to build your profile and connect with eminent professors around the world. We have tied up with several distinguished universities. Sorry, there seems to be some problem here. We have tied up with several distinguished universities for an array of research programs: Cambridge Center for International Research, Lumiere Education, and International Partnership of Education, Research, and Communication. The Cambridge Center for International Research, also known as the CCIR, is a social enterprise registered at Cambridge. Its overarching mission benefits the public by increasing the accessibility of knowledge. The summer programs begin soon in June. Their one-on-one research mentorship follows the motto, one student, one mentor, one project. This program offers students the opportunity to pursue research with a current teaching Oxbridge or Ivy League faculty member. Each mentorship experience is tailored to the specific needs and interests of each student. This program enables you to explore what you want, the way you want. You can develop your own research project in the 14 supervisory hours that is spread across 7 to 14 weeks. The schedules are flexible with rolling admission. The mentorship will allow you to foster personal relationships with the faculty, as they will give you guidance as to how to publish an academic journal. The other, Cambridge Future Scholar Program, is an online 2 to 5 student research focused program taught by the current teaching faculty members at Cambridge, Oxford, MIT, Harvard, Stanford, and other select Ivy League universities. This summer, they are offering 34 unique research courses in STEM, business studies, social sciences, and humanities. Each 13-week course is divided into 2 parts. First, to build up your foundation, and then plan and execute your research project. Lumiere Education offers world-class research opportunities for students around the world. The organization is founded by Harvard and Oxford PhDs with the aim to provide high school students the access to research opportunities with top global scholars. They offer a diverse array of research programs designed to suit a range of ages and experience levels. They have 3 modules. Individual research program is a 12-week research with 9 individual sessions with a world-class researcher plus 2 individual sessions with a writing coach. The premium research and publication program is for 16 weeks with 15 individual sessions with the researcher and 4 sessions with the writing coach. There are also 4 individual sessions with a publication specialist. The third, research fellowship, is a 6 to 12 month program with about 20 to 30 individual sessions and 6 sessions with a writing coach. This program includes the publishing and sharing of the paper at the college level journal or prestigious conference. In fact, you get to choose from many research topics and journals such as biotechnology, the human body and disease, psychology of organizations, astrophysics, behavioral economics, gender and education in global and comparative perspectives, civil and environmental engineering, and many more. You can also customize your own research topic. The International Partnership of Education, Research and Communication, popularly known as IPERC, is a non-profit organization headquartered in Ohio. It is partnered with multiple educational institutions such as schools and universities across the globe in the US, UK, and Canada. Their research program, iStar, allows students of diverse academic backgrounds as well as different academic levels to engage in top-level research under the guidance of renowned faculty members from Ivy League institutions such as Harvard, Stanford, and NYU. The program is for high school students and undergraduates to engage in impactful learning while earning college credits and participating in cutting-edge research. It provides students with an authentic college experience, transferable college credit, and the opportunity to earn recommendation letters from top professors. You can take online courses focused on the professor's area of research and work closely with them to write an academic research paper. The program is for 10 weeks and where you will attend academic writing workshop, introduction to literature review and researching methods, and understanding the structure of a research paper, and of course, writing it. Finally, EdNet's recently launched ERIAL Research Fellowship 2.0 is a space for you to engage and learn the fundamentals of research writing, critical thinking processes, and publishing your paper over a period of 3 months or 12 weeks under the able guidance of our in-house professors. So do get in touch with us to know more about this incredible fellowship. Contact us at ask@ednetconsultants.com or call us at 95600 28 144. Thank you for being part of this webinar. We hope we could clear all your doubts about research. Get in touch with us for a more personalized consultation. See you soon.
Thank you all for being here today on a Saturday afternoon, taking out time to listen to this amazing, informative session. Do anyone have any questions? And can someone give me a thumbs up if they like the session? Could you just give your likes here so we can, and put on your videos so we can see everyone's beautiful faces on a Saturday afternoon? Angel, thank you. Thank you. Can everyone say how was the experience? Maybe someone can talk about the experience. Yeah? Okay, great. So does anyone want to talk about the experience? Rushal, you want to say something as to what you thought about this informative session? Rushal, can you hear me? Okay, I don't think they want to put on their camera. So anyway, Angel, anyone wants to say anything about the session? Anyone wants to give the experience? Oh, you can't unmute. Jishlo, can you unmute everyone, please? Can you just unmute everyone, please?
Yeah, can
Yes.
you hear me now?
Yes, Rushal, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, so the session was very informative. Like I didn't know about the types of researches, so it helped me. Like I would like to pursue computer science related research, so I know how to go about it. What are the types of researches suited to it, and I would like to further clarify some things. So it was very informative.
I'm so glad you enjoyed it. I'm so glad it was, you had something to take back home where research is concerned. EdNet is always talking about it, and now you have all the information. If you have any questions, you can definitely get in touch with Sejal, right? Anyone has any other further questions? Tina?
Hi.
Hi.
Surbhi.
Yes, hi, Surbhi.
I loved the session because, slightly Prisha and me, I'm Prisha's mother, we were slightly lost when we have to do research, but how do we take the step one? But the way it was put from, guiding us like a flow chart, I found it really helpful. And moreover, kids would get very enthusiastic because it's so information based. It's like a self discovery. So really, really a very good session, I would say.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Berry, that you found it important and informative. But yes, as you said, that everyone has their own interest. Everyone wants to discover something, explore something. And this is the time they can do that through research. And if anyone has any questions or anyone wants to pursue research on their own with the help of EdNet and their mentor at school, please do get in touch with Sejal at EdNet, and we are there to help you out, right? Thank you. And we'll end the session with that. Have a lovely weekend, everyone, and a great day. Thank you.